The last couple of slides, divorce, this should answer some of the questions. A bill of divorce must be written. We misunderstand divorce today. I'm just going to tell you, we completely misunderstand it. All right, if you want to divorce your spouse, you must write a bill of divorcement. A bill of divorce must be given to her hand. So you write it and then you give it to her. Once a bill of divorce is given, she must be put away. There are court cases that took bills of divorce without a marriage license, and the judge knew how to construe it. It was valid. Well, with a marriage license, the judge knows exactly where to go and how to construe the law. With a bill of divorce, he's going to take the contract that they wrote and adjudicate based on that bill of divorce and their contract. The difference is who writes the contract. But this has been held up in court numerous times.
That's the verbiage. Put it away. What's that mean?
Oh, I'm going to get to that.
Oh,
okay, this is where we misunderstand very often. A bill of divorce can be given to a married woman who is found to be unclean. Unclean is erva, which means nudity, disgrace, blemish, nakedness, shame, or unclean. This word does not signify adultery. So divorce is not just for adultery or any of the uncleanness forbidden in Leviticus 18, because that would be punishable by death. This is where we get mixed up. Adultery does not go to divorce, it goes to death. You don't divorce an adulteress. The marriage is done because they die. So you don't, people misunderstood what the Messiah said in the New Testament. I'm going to explain that in just a minute. Yes?
So in the spirit of the law, would that mean that the covenant is dead?
The covenant's over at death, yeah. So marriage ends by divorce or death. That's it.
But today we don't take them out and kill them, so that...
Then it never ends unless you divorce them. Because we're not following God's law, it won't end by death unless they just naturally die. A woman that is given a bill of divorce and is put away can remarry. That's an important one. She may go and be another man's wife if she's been given a bill of divorce. Okay? A woman cannot remarry her ex-husband if she has been married to someone else. So once they've been married to someone else and they've consummated, they can't get remarried. So if my wife and I got split up and she married someone else and then they got split up and we decided, hey, let's try and make another go at it, we can't do it. God said no. A man cannot take a second wife and then diminish his first wife, or she is free to go without money. That's kind of important. She doesn't get her bride price. She doesn't get her dowry back. Okay, now let's talk about divorce real quick. All right, first, biblical divorce must find some uncleanness. This is a breach of the contract. So what's your contract? If it's a marriage license, you got to follow what the state says. Right now, it's anything goes. Irreconcilable differences, whatever. Just if you feel like getting divorced, you can get divorced. If you write your own contract, what did you put in the contract? They have to breach the contract. Must write a bill of divorce and give it to her. This is a property right, you guys. This is her evidence and gives her capacity to remarry. If she doesn't have that bill of divorce in writing, no man's going to know that she can be married. She must leave your home. That's what put away means. Put her away. All right, let's apply this to the New Testament. Was the Messiah wrong? Deuteronomy 24:2 says, "And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife." But the Messiah said, "But I say unto you that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causes her to commit adultery. And whosoever shall marry her that is divorced, commits adultery." This is very misunderstood because we don't understand Deuteronomy 24.
Okay.
All right. Let's understand some definitions. All right. A bill of divorce is a document. Divorce is termination. These are two different things. Put away is a separation. It's annulment. That's the separation. Do people separate today without getting a divorce?
Right. Yes.
Yes.
Is it adultery if...
I see.
Do you see where I'm going?
I do.
Adultery is the death penalty. You don't divorce someone for adultery. They die. Fornication is a fine. It's 50 shekels of silver. Annulment is what put away means. It's putting someone away without a divorce. These are the same terms we use today. Put away and divorced in Matthew 5:32 is the same word.
Where's fornication coming in all this? I don't get that.
Well, it's fornication's right there. I'm going to explain that in just a minute. But this word put away and this word divorced is the same word. This is not the word for divorced. The King James translated it wrong, and all of our new translations use the word divorced. It's not the word for divorced. This is apoluo, which means to freely relieve, release, to dismiss. This is not the word for divorce. Divorce is apostasion. We've translated it wrong because we think differently today, and every modern translation translates it incorrectly. In Luke 16:18, the King James got it right. It's the exact same verse, but from Luke. Put away and put away. Put away is separation without a divorce, without a bill of divorce. It's not fair to a woman to separate from her without giving her permission to remarry. That's what God hates. All right? So God does not hate divorce. It clearly says he hates putting away. This is separation without divorce. But we always assume he's saying, I hate divorce. Yeah. He says, I hate putting away. I hate separation with... If you need to divorce, if there's a breach in contract, make the decision. Yeah. But don't put the woman in limbo. That is completely unfair to her.
I get it. Okay.
After all, God himself had a divorce. How could it be wrong? He put her away, but he did it right with a bill of divorce. He divorced Israel. And by the way, did you notice God was a polygamist too? He was married to Judah and Israel. How many nations is he married to today? Well, I'm sure all the common law nations. He's probably got 30, 40, 50 wives today. He's a polygamist. It would make sense. He's the most powerful person in the universe. I'm sure his business is quite successful. Yes?
Okay, because I was thinking when they asked, can they put them away for any reason, and talk about how, if they over salted the meat or something like that.
If that's in the contract, then yes. Who would put that in their contract? If that's in the contract and you both agreed you will not over salt my meat, and they over salt their meat, that's a breach of contract. Who would be foolish enough to agree to that contract? I don't know. But that's why we should write our own contracts. It will force you to think about what you're looking for in a spouse. Vercel and I rewrote ours. We redid it just because of this very reason. And it was the best thing we ever did. You don't divorce someone for adultery. You put someone away for fornication. What does this mean? This is talking about the tokens of virginity. Adultery requires death. Marriage is ended by death, not divorce. Fornication, you put her away. That's an annulment. This is after consummation, and the tokens of virginity are not found. The husband was defrauded. This is why Joseph wanted to separate from Mary. It uses the word put away. They weren't married yet. He found out she was pregnant. She must have committed fornication. I'm going to put you away privately before we're married. No divorce is needed because the contract was breached. Once the contract's breached, it was never ratified. The consummation ratifies the contract. If it was breached, you never had a marriage in the first place. You can put her away. Do you see how this is working? This brings up the doctrine of latches. The doctrine of latches is when a party has been guilty of latches in enforcing his right by great delay and lapse of time. So if you fail to assert your rights in a timely manner, the doctrine of latches overtakes you and you lose. So you can't marry someone, find out they defrauded you, their tokens of virginity weren't found, and they defrauded you and say, well, let's give it a couple of years and then we'll see. You see what I'm saying? You got to do it timely. This is the doctrine of latches. It comes from Numbers 30. It says if he holds his peace in that day that he heard it, all our vows stand. So you need to say it right away. I think the law in America is 30 days. You got 30 days. The scripture doesn't endorse 30 days. It just says you need to be timely. You need to make the decision. If you found out that there was a fraud, you act on it. If you continue the contract as is, you've ratified the fraud. That's what the doctrine of latches means. Okay, so if I agreed that someone's going to deliver me meat every Wednesday and Friday, And for a month straight, they just did it on Wednesday, but not Friday. But I kept paying them. I'm sorry, the new contract is every Wednesday. That's the way the law would word it. Because you continued it, you need to stop it right away. That's what latches means.
Your residence. If you've lived in a place for
Yes.
30 days, that's your place.
You can see how all these laws and maxims of law come from the Scripture. They really do.
Precedence.
Yes, and this is not a law, it's a doctrine. It's not nearly as powerful or important as the law, but it's still something we live by, and it comes from the Scriptures. God's design is for marriage to be forever. What God has joined together, let not man put asunder. But because of our sin, God permits divorce. That's what he said. For the hardness of your hearts, he wrote you this precept. Because we sin and we will break contracts, divorce has to be available for us. Is there going to be divorce in eternity? No, there's not even marriage. There's no sin, so there would be no need for it, but there's no marriage in eternity either. But for the time being, God allows for divorce because we do sin and we break our contracts. That's just the way it is. America used to keep this law. United States Supreme Court 1885 says marriage is the sure foundation of all that is stable and noble in our civilization, the best guarantee of that reverent morality which is the source of all beneficent progress in social and political improvement. The Constitution of Alabama says the following persons shall be disqualified: perjury, robbery, burglary, forgery, bribery, assault and battery on the wife, bigamy, living in adultery, sodomy, and incest. We used to have punishments for this stuff. Wasn't the right punishment. The Supreme Court said in 1986, condemnation of those practices is firmly rooted in Judeo-Christian moral and ethical standards. Sodomy was a criminal offense at common law and was forbidden by the laws of the original 13 states when they ratified the Bill of Rights. In 1868, when the 14th Amendment was ratified, the 13th and 14th Amendment changed a lot. But when they were ratified, all but 5 of the 37 states in the Union had criminal sodomy laws. In fact, until 1961, all 50 states outlawed sodomy, providing criminal penalties for sodomy performed in private and between consenting adults.
61, huh?
We used to keep these laws. We forgot about it. Capital felonies were bestiality, sodomy, and incest. The reality is we just had the wrong punishment. This should be all the adultery laws, capital felonies. Regular felonies were adultery, bigamy, prostitution, and rape. That should have been death penalty. We didn't do it quite right. What changed? We signed up for a new law with a marriage license. Whose fault is it? It's us.
We didn't know our Bible.
We made the mistake. Well, they conned us into it, but we made the mistake.